Morning, Mike. How you doing?
Happy Friday, Steve.
Happy Friday indeed. Feels like it's been a long week.
It has, but
Are
you're
you
going to get
excited
the
for the
much
weekend?
more upbeat
Got big
Mike
plans?
P today. Yes, absolutely. Looking
No
forward
Mike
to
P
it.
today.
How's the end of what is it now? 2 weeks of isolation, working from home now?
I'm
Almost
actually at the
fully
end of my
two
third
two
week.
weeks
I'm on
or
my
your
third
third week?
week.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think third week. Yeah. That was the last time I've been in the office. I'd say total isolation for a week. I went out to the stores last Friday, but so I'm on my 1 week total isolation at the moment. So I restarted the count after going to the store. So
Are you
what about
feeling
you?
pretty
How many
good?
weeks?
You get out
Sorry?
for a run this morning?
I didn't. I went for a walk. I went for a walk this morning. I need to get some air, but no, I didn't run this morning. I'll try and get out sometime later today, if I can get away from the work. The workload just continues to grow, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that and maybe explore your life as a workplace leader, and I think some of those insights that you can share about how you're managing things at work will be helpful. In fact, I had a great conversation on my live stream earlier this week, and some of my guests were cautiously optimistic, looking forward. Nobody can predict the future. In fact, just before we went live here, you seem like you're the one who needs a little bit of a boost today. So I'm prepared with some inspirational quotes for you, Steve, when you're ready.
No, good. I'm glad. No, no, no. And sorry if it was a little bit of a Debbie Downer, so to speak, but Uh, that's certainly not where I am, and it's more of just reading some of the numbers that come out overnight. 3.3 million claiming unemployment this month. That's just crazy,
That is
crazy from
devastating.
a
Yeah, that is hard
a
to
high. It's
hard
just
to hard to process those numbers, but hopefully it's temporary. Hopefully it is something. Again, I want to strike that balance between the two extremes. Remember yesterday I said that I thought that our previously polarized world, whether it was about politics or talking about Star Wars, you had the extreme one end or the extreme other end. And I thought that was going away. I thought we were coming together unified. But the more I read social media, the more I hear some news reports, you seem to still have that polarization. Either this is the end of the world, the numbers, the models that are showing millions of deaths and all this thing's going to be coming to truth. Anything you talk about the economy is just you're asking for people to die. That's horrible. The other extreme that said this is nothing's happening. It's a hoax. It's just like the flu. I think both are wrong, and we need to find that kind of
Yeah,
nuanced balance. And I see some statistics. I see some data coming in. I know my big concern in these first couple of weeks have been about the lack of data, and
yeah.
we're still a long way from having all the information we need. But what do you obviously you're right in New York City in that area. That's the hot spot. That's where the numbers are pretty bad. But even Governor Cuomo yesterday said that he's right at this moment they have enough beds, they have enough ventilators. He's just projecting out to where we'll need to be, and I think that's what Americans are good at, rallying around getting us out of tough situations. What do you think?
No doubt when you talk about Americans and they're sort of upbeat, get at them, get stuff done, right? Absolutely. What's interesting is you hear all these positive messages coming from the politicians. I don't know if you saw the New York Times basically got into a New York hospital where they also did an interview with a nurse who basically was saying that what's been reported and the reality are very, very different. So, and the nurse that or the doctor that did it actually did it from a place of we want to tell people so that we get the resources required. They're already starting to feel fatigued, and it was come from that place, not necessarily to shoot people down in a sense of, openly critique what the government and what the local governors and mayors and that are doing, but really just to give the public an opinion. You've got that, and to your point, where we aspire to learn what is that right balance, right? Where actually are we on the curve, so to speak? I actually watched a video. I've put a link to it in the description of the video.
Oh, cool.
It was from Dr. Peter Attia. He's somebody I listen to. He's very articulate. He does a lot of research. This is a guy who wears constant monitors, reports it out, and so on and so forth, and then basically, gives his opinion on things that he's found. So in the link, he actually references a article that was put out by the New York Times yesterday that is a model that you can play with as an individual. So
Hmm.
you can run the variables, so temperature, how long people stay in containment, how often, how long the isolation period is kept, also how many people we transfer it to. And then he, he basically runs through a math formula or a math graph that he put together to show the different variables. Really, really interesting. So I'll put links
Yeah,
to his video and also to the New York Times article. So people obviously after once we're finished with this, obviously people can then go and take a look at it. But it's fascinating, and I encourage people to follow Dr. Peter Attier. He's an immensely bright guy. But what was really interesting and fascinating from that was his key thing that is the key variable, as he put it, was how many people, whether you're symptomatic or asymptomatic, you transfer it to. That's the key thing. And there's nothing that he sort of concludes that is out there that sort of helps us understand what that is. But he runs through all the various scenarios. So it's a great tool to watch, to listen, to learn. But yeah, to your point,
that's one of the hardest things to get your hands around, right? Is we don't know
yeah.
the data about that yet. I think we'll a year from now, 2 years from now, be able to look back and get a better sense. But I love that more data, more models that are adjustable, because that's the thing. I'm seeing some of the early models that were very scary being relooked at. In fact, the gentleman from the Oxford or over in the UK, I know you're on top of the UK news, has reevaluated his model that kind of got things started in this whole lockdown a couple of weeks ago, where he was predicting millions of deaths and so forth. And now based on, and I hope it's because of the social isolation, the distancing is working. There's some evidence beginning to come out here in Virginia. I'm in the DC area and I live in Virginia. So I was looking at some Virginia stats, and we have a little under 500 cases. It's obviously there's many parts of this country that are not like New York, not like Seattle, not like California, uh, because of the dense population you've got are dealing with there. We're a little more spread out, but Northern Virginia is pretty packed, and we've been shut down for a couple of weeks now. And I'm hoping, because I saw that we reached the peak in new cases 7 days ago, and ever since it's been going
Hmm.
down for the last 7 days. So that's why I say there's some hopeful news out there.
No, that's
Some of
great
these
news.
tactics are starting to
Yeah,
work. So we'll see.
yeah.
And I trust that there again, smarter people than I looking at all this information and making some decisions about how long to continue the complete lockdown, the easing in certain parts of the country that maybe can go back to work in the coming weeks and months, and then the longer term strategy. And that's where I wanted to turn it to kind of workplace and the longer term vision. I don't expect you to be a prognosticator, but I know you're busy every day making plans. Are you guys talking about what things look like at your workplace when you get back to the new normal and the gradual return to some type of a normal existence in the office?
Um, uh, I'm trying to sort of how to answer this, as honestly as I can, right? Um, we're talking about, well, what happens if this goes for 1, 3, 6, 9 months, right? That's sort of the viewpoint. Also, what does it mean for um, the organization if it goes on for that length of time and then we come back to the office, right? So obviously, if things are shut down for a month, then things can get back to normality or the new normality relatively quickly, right? Where obviously, if things are 6 months delayed or 9 months delayed, that's a little more challenging because you then have to start looking at your infrastructure, right? From a utility perspective, do you need to keep the lights on? Do you have to keep all our servers running? How do you, uh, generator backups, all these different things. How do you manage those things? Security personnel, right? How do you manage your security personnel given
Yeah.
each location? How do you do this? So there's a lot of those conversations, and obviously that's where the leadership team is given direction. And as I mentioned a couple of days ago, it's my responsibility is to provide information to the leadership, answer questions that they may have, and then take direction from them. So that's sort of where our position is. I haven't the top chats have not yet happened about does our workplace remain the same? Do our workplace standards remain the same? Once the new normality comes to play, we haven't got there yet. I think um, once this sort of passes, or we get closer to perhaps employees returning to the offices, then perhaps that becomes a conversation.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see. I know all organizations are dealing with that. I know, uh, those are the tough decisions. And again, it's really early on to make those decisions, but beginning to see the data come in, and it's overwhelming, the amount of information, these models and stuff. But I just imagine, and I'm trying to put myself as a human being in that position of walking back into an office, walking back into a conference, an IFMA meeting, a CoreNet meeting. Think about the new protocols in place, the new standards, and what will we do? I think we will get back to a happy place of face to face human interaction. I believe that because we are creatures that want to be in contact with others personally, and that's so important to me. But again, heightened awareness. I've always had it. We talked about this yesterday of being mindful of maybe not going places when you're sick will be more of a priority. I wonder if corporations
Mm.
and organizations and governments will put more uh, guidelines out, just to kind of let people know, and maybe people their awareness is already to a point where they will be smart about not interacting if
You know,
they
I,
if
I
they are
think I think
sick.
most organizations have always been very clear. If you're not sick, don't come to the office.
Yeah.
I think organizations have been clear. I think employees have um, ignored those requests because no one wants to show that they're vulnerable, that they're weak, or in any way that they're sick.
Yeah, it's a culture question, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so maybe
it's a
that's
human.
part both
Yeah,
sides. It's the organization's culture, the leadership sends a message. I don't want to call out Elon Musk, but he puts himself out there, in the weeks leading up to the shutdown out in California. I think he put out a memo to his team that said, if you're feeling sick, don't come to work, but I'll be here. That kind of thing, So it's a mixed message. It's like, well, if I want to keep my job, maybe I still need to get into work. So
I
again,
think,
and
but
I'm not putting him on the spot, but those
yeah.
types of things are subtle messages that we all, as workplace leaders, will deliver to our teams and to our organizations.
But I think what this has shown us is so individuals can now, if you're not feeling 100%, can work from home, can work, but stay contained until one feels 100%, and then you can go back to the office environment. And I think what this has demonstrated that organizations can continue. Yes, productivity may have decreased somewhat for a number of people, but I think for a lot of people it hasn't. If anything, their productivity's had to increase because the demands have actually increased because of what's going on. You take the whole workplace industry. You take
Yeah.
all the departments that one we support, or two that sort of we work alongside with our technology, technology team, our human resources team, our finance teams. All those people come together because the organization wants so much information to make informed decisions. So actually, the workload is really increased. I think for a lot of those teams. So and I know that my demands of the service providers who support me, especially my brokers at the moment, because we're evaluating all sorts of scenarios. So it's like urgent requests. Now, I can only imagine that they're getting those urgent requests from a plethora of customers.
A lot of people.
So
Yeah.
it's how are they supporting those folks as well. So I think this is a time when the industry will be pulling together and supporting each other, all in the spirit of helping organizations make informed decisions, help the leaders of those organizations make informed decisions.
Yeah, I hope so, because I've always been a guy who promotes partnership and collaboration, and the partnership meaning not just internally between departments, but also externally with our contractors and our
Yeah,
vendor relationships, and we're all in this together, going
yeah,
forward. And there are really a lot of folks struggling out there in the near term here, um, unable or yeah, unable to do their work essentially, because obviously the built environment is pretty much on lockdown. So
yeah.
I'm kind
So,
of excited to hear your opinion as we go forward, not today
yeah,
and not
yeah,
maybe next week, but as things become more strategic about, all right, we're going to try to open on X date, not putting you on the spot, but what does it look like a month from now or 6 months from now? And what changes will you make in workplace strategy? Does activity based working become more the norm? Is it again? You mentioned working from home and having that
yeah.
ability. video conferencing is obviously ramped up incredibly. There's going to be some investments that need to be made to build out that infrastructure if that's going to continue.
Yeah.
And what else? Just like I've
So I
heard,
mean, so what
staggered
I was going to say
workforce,
is,
things like that.
there's you and I having our conversation, and we can give our perspectives. But I'd love to know, anyone who watches these videos, what are your organizations doing? What things are you seeing? How can we take that information and share that so that the whole community is more informed? Because yes, we look at it through a lens of, I can look at it through the lens of my organization, but at the same time is like I'd love to be able to provide perspectives of what other people are doing. So
Oh
what are
yeah,
other strategies that people are saying? Service providers, what are you seeing in the industry? Now I know there's a plethora seems to be my word of the day today,
yeah.
man.
Everybody's got a word of the day.
Yeah,
Unprecedented has
yeah,
been my
yeah.
word this week.
So, I mean, we have so many webinars, and it's really hard to sort of keep track of those webinars. And some of them I've
Yeah,
seen are phenomenal topics, that I absolutely want to get to, but it's just so hard to keep up with it. So what I want to
information
love to
overload.
do, yeah, what I'd love to do is if people are prepared to, if they record them, they can send it to me and I can put them on open source workplace. I'll publish them all for you so people can come and watch them after and allow people to watch them at their own pace because most webinars are set up between 12 or 1 p.m. starts and that's really tough because you have so many and you're having to make decisions, but also at the same time internally you have so many meetings. I had 5 or 6 podcasts I wanted to watch yesterday, but I had meetings at those times, so
Sure.
you just so I miss them, or I know they can send out links later, but at the same time I'd like to watch it at my own pace. What I also love about YouTube is you can watch it at twice the speed or 1.5 times the speed, which is where I like to watch. I was going to ask you actually as we
You know, with the
talk about that,
chipmunks, go to the Stephen Mike's, the chipmunk version.
yeah. Well,
That's
it's
possible.
do you listen to YouTube and
I can't. I
podcasts at
don't want
normal
to. No,
speed?
I don't. I love hearing the natural voices,
Oh, you do.
the
You
natural
watch it at normal speed?
conversation. I do. I do. I know
Okay.
some people do. I
Okay.
know that on podcasting that's obviously an option. But for me, I'm eavesdropping on a conversation, and
Mm,
if it's not sounding like a natural, real, authentic human to human interaction, it loses
mhm.
something for me. But that's what, to each their own.
Interesting.
Those tools are there for
No,
those who
I
have less
watch.
time or want to get the
Yeah,
information in quickly.
interesting.
Just read it.
No,
Read the transcript at that point.
no, that's interesting. No, because I watch everything at 1.5. There'll be some shows that I watch at 1.75 or 2.
Really?
All depends on
Wow.
how slow the pace or the topic is.
Well,
Obviously,
no
if
wonder you talk
something's
so fast. You
sorry?
always say you're always talking so fast.
I
That's
do talk so fast, and maybe that's the reason why I listen at that speed, but, I listen to audiobooks at that pace as well. Um, and that's why I could spend an hour watching the newscast live on TV, or I can watch it at normal speed for 20 minutes on YouTube, or I can watch it at 1.5 and get through it in about 13 minutes. And I get all the same information. I'm able to absorb, and don't get me wrong, if there's something that's important, I'll stop, I'll
yeah.
pause, I'll rewind. But it allows me to get through so much faster, But anyway, it's
Speed
interesting.
watching. It's like speed reading. I never was able to understand that whole speed reading concept. Read the top of the words. You're reading the top of the words or listening at speed. You're like the FedEx
Well,
commercial. It
did
absolutely
you
has got to be
did you
there.
not see
Yeah,
the study? There was a study that was actually done that if you had uh, each sentence, right? So they put a paragraph of text, and the first word of a sentence, the last word of a sentence, and the middle word of a sentence was coherent all the way through the text, and people could read it. It didn't matter what you put in between the different words; it could be gobbledygook, but in essence, it was if you read it the human brain could understand it because that's how we read. That's how we
yeah.
ingest information. We don't take every single word, and that's why whenever I talk, I skip so many words.
They're also superfluous. There's my
There
big
you go.
SAT word
There
of
you
the day.
go.
Some of those words are just not necessary.
No, I know. So yesterday we mentioned the hashtag, make me smile,
Yeah.
which was great. I came across another one this morning, and I'm not so sure if you've heard of it yet. Clap for careers, or carers,
No.
or clap for carers. So in essence, it started in the UK. So what they're trying to do at 8 p.m. each evening is people publicly clap their hands for carers for the NHS, National Health Service workers in the UK.
That's cool.
And you've got people like David Beckham, Rod Stewart, all putting this all out on Twitter to showcase and give thank you to the carers. I thought it's a great thing to see, and great thing to watch.
Really good. That's reminds me of
Yeah.
that Dr. not Dr. Seuss. I was going to say Dr. Seuss, but Mr. Rogers quote I shared with you on our live stream a couple of weeks ago about
Yeah,
look for the helpers, right? You know, and those are the ones that are always rising up during times of crisis. And there's something comforting, and they need to be acknowledged and recognized. So
yeah.
that's great. So how are you doing heading into the weekend? You know, here we are a few days into our daily live stream conversation, a couple weeks into our new reality of work from home. Are you holding up okay in
Yeah,
isolation? Because the mental health aspect of this is something I'm going to start exploring next week on my iOffice live stream, and I'm excited to have some guests who are really expert in that area of well-being, stress management. Are you handling the stress okay?
yeah, no, I'm good in a sense of, I'm fortunate. Obviously, I have my day job, and then I have open source workplace, and that keeps me busy. So, while a lot of people will struggle on the weekends, because of just not working, I think a lot of people find work a great distraction at the moment. So with open source workplace, I spend most of my weekends working on open source workplace. So it's a great outlet. Um, and then obviously keeping myself active and keep myself feeding healthy. Man, I don't know about you, man, but my skills seem to be getting wrong each morning. Every day they seem
Yeah,
to be going up more and more, and I don't understand why.
I've always been a comfort food,
Oh
food
man.
therapy type guy. So I have to watch that. But I've been, since the beginning of the year, I've been on kind of a more mindful diet, I should say. And it helped me because heading into this situation, I was on a good trend, and I'm trying to keep down there.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
went for a run yesterday.
I used to follow an eating schedule of, one eating window. So basically, you set a time period where you eat. What I'm finding these days, though, that eating when it goes from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., just eating all day long, it's not good for me.
That's the window, just a big
Yeah,
window. I like that.
yeah, I
One
used
day,
to
it's a one window day. I go from
yeah,
8 a.m. till 8 p.m. and I
yeah,
eat as much as I want during that period, but the rest of the
yeah,
time I fast.
yeah,
Um, but running is something that I've found. It's the weather's turning here. It's becoming more
yeah,
spring-like in Northern Virginia. I was out for a run last night. So many people out walking around, but then everybody kind of keeping that distance from each other as you pass by.
yeah.
And I'm
How did you feel when you saw people? What was your emotional reaction?
well again. I become like I don't worry about myself. I worry about them. I saw some older folks out walking, and I wanted
Yeah,
to like show this respect, so I would wave and then like deliberately go that big roundabout to avoid
yeah,
brushing up against their space. The funny story was, and I just gotta laugh about it because I can't worry about such things. But there's a guy coming, older guy, and I'm jogging towards him. He's walking, and I didn't notice it at the time. But as I got close, I did my little roundabout. Got about 6 feet away, but I went right through a cloud of his cigar smoke. So he was out
oh,
smoking a cigar, and he must have puffed it in the air right as I was going by, and I smelled that very distinct cigar
yeah,
smoke smell. And
yeah.
I hope coronavirus is not transmittable via smoke.
I
Any
hope
any
not. I
evidence
hope
of
so.
that,
It's
Steve?
not.
I have to worry about
Yeah. Say it again?
any evidence you've seen about smoke
No, I
transmitting?
haven't. No evidence, but actually, there's been no definitive
Again, no
answer
news.
stating that it doesn't. Right,
Yeah,
and that's probably as bleak news for you as.
I was gonna say, but I can't worry about that. I can't let my
No,
mind
we
go
can't.
there
We
because I
can't.
think
I know.
we lose our sense of
Yeah,
sanity. You can't
yeah,
walk if you go through this life walking around looking at every invisible germ on every surface, you won't be able to function. So we've always lived for thousands of years we've had bacteria and virus around us, and we're adaptable. This is just a unique situation. We will get through this. We'll find a vaccine. We'll develop that vaccine. It may take a year or more, 2 years, whatever it is, but we have the scientists working overtime to get those antibodies, those treatments. They're trying different things. Anytime you feel overwhelmed by the data, and I know I do too, or overwhelmed by the news, I should say, understand that the data is still coming in. And as the data comes in, all those models that are projecting the worst case scenario will be adjusted. And it doesn't account for that innovation, that human, ability to adapt and innovate. And I think when I hear about the shortages of beds or the shortages of ventilators, the potential for that, there's really, I know that I saw that video you were referencing from the New York hospital, and it's right to, let's see, I think the news sensationalizes the worst case scenario. And that's what we're attracted to is it's like that. My dad calls it the rubbernecking
Mhm.
principle. We all look
Mhm.
at the car wreck as we go by. And I think we all are drawn by that, and they're trying to get our eyeballs on their newscasts. Not to diminish it, not to say it's not serious and very real, because it is, but taking that more holistic view. And I love when I hear people, you find that balance we talked about. In fact, I quoted when I was promoting our OSW daily, and that's the hashtag, folks, right? Hashtag OSW, hashtag OSW daily, to get people aware of this conversation each day. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the other day, I used a quote from him, and he's one of those doctors like Dr. Fauci I'm going to look up the doctor you recommended earlier, but I love these minds who are just very, they're not going to sugarcoat it. They're going to give you the facts when they're real, but they're also not going to, sensationalize things unnecessarily if they don't have to. And Dr. Gupta said, we must find the right balance between panic and denial. You can only stay calm by sticking to the facts. So again, one extreme is panic, one extreme is denial. I want to find that balance where I really get a sense of what's going on, and also I'm an optimistic guy. Yesterday's show I was a little bit more negative Nelly, because I had been overwhelmed by some of those sensational reports. But when I see some of the things going on and some of the progress being made, I can be more positive and optimistic as we head into the weekend. So
There you
happy
go.
Friday, and cheers.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Friday. You got plans for your weekend? Staying in?
I'm going to catch up on some things. First of all, tomorrow I'm going to totally turn my brain off. On Saturday, I think I've got to be the one to take that day, watch
Mhm.
some TV. In fact, that's what we're doing on our other live stream. We should do it here. Is make escape from reality recommendations. What are you listening to? What are you watching?
Mhm.
What movies, what TV shows are you using just to take your mind off of things? So that's what Saturday is all about. My wife will usually recommend something good. She recommended that Mr. Rogers documentary a couple weeks ago, which made me cry, and I'm not ashamed of it. It was really a kinder, gentler time when I was growing up, and he was this very calming influence on the culture. And then last weekend, I watched The Help, that Steven Spielberg film about
Mm.
the 60s, and the helpers, the African American, mostly women, who were serving in the South. It was based in Alabama, and this woman who wrote a book about telling their stories, letting the help tell their stories of what it was like. And it was during that whole civil rights movement. Very, very well acted. I think it won a bunch of Academy Awards. So I recommend that. How about you?
Mhm.
Do you have any? You're not a big movie guy, or not a big TV watcher, right? But what
No,
do you
I'm
do to
not really.
relax?
No, I'm not really. Or what I'll do is I'll watch the same things over and over again. I like to watch movies where I can watch, fall asleep, wake up, and know exactly where I am. Um, I also, but my big escape is my soccer, right? My football. That's my big escape,
Ah,
and obviously with nothing being played at the moment,
yeah.
my weekend will be spent, probably watching, you know, previous previous days,
I saw
old
they were
games,
airing
things like
like
that.
old golf tournaments, old basketball games, old baseball
Yeah.
games, just to have something to watch that
Yeah,
does
yeah.
take our mind
Again,
off
to your
things.
point though, it's just an opportunity to switch the brain off, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, but yeah, that's the weekends. Weekends are for that. So hopefully, I hope you get the chance to switch off.
All right, we got a
Get a
couple
chance
minutes before
to,
we have to switch
you
off
know,
our live stream today. Any final words for the audience here who will be watching, and those that are going to start joining us live on a regular basis? Thank you. Share this video
yeah.
if you
No,
can.
please do.
What's great
Yeah,
about YouTube, like you said, it's out there, it lives on. We've gotten people commenting later in the day as they watch, and I hope you become a part of this conversation. We'd love to utilize the chat and make it more interactive in the coming weeks and months. But final thoughts, Steve?
No, I just look. Thank you to you for agreeing to do this. I think it's great. I'm enjoying the conversations with you. It's a very
Same here.
chilled, relaxed way to open the morning. Thanks to Alec in the background, who is doing a phenomenal job of piecing this together, allowing us to take care of this. And let's jump on the hashtags. Make me smile and clap for carers. So do take a little photo, video, and put it out there. Let's show all these folks who are on the front lines, who are prepared to step out there and take care of us all, and show our appreciation for that.
Absolutely. I love it.
What about
I
you?
love inspirational quotes too, folks. If you've got some during these difficult times. We need to, there's so they're what did Zig Ziglar say, Steve? Motivation is like bathing. You need it daily. You need to do it daily, something like that, where it's like we are always coming off of highs and lows. So
Yeah.
sometimes people say, oh, those quotes are just silly and trite, but every little one I hear just sometimes brings me back to a perspective that allows things to go forward in a good way. So I give you Yoda, since I'm using my Yoda mug this morning. I'm going to say, "Mm, do or do not. There is no try." He doesn't laugh at that moment in the movie, but
Very
that's
good.
something that
Very good.
certainly makes me
Very
happy. Go
good.
watch Star Wars, folks. Have a great weekend.
All right. Take care.
See ya.